Okay, today we're going to go over just some basic things to speed up your Lightroom workflow and as well as speeding up the program itself. So, let's first go to our preferences and come over to file handling, and you see down here the camera raw cache settings, and it has a maximum size which by default I believe is a gig, so that it's only giving Lightroom 1 gig of hard drive space to keep your stuff backed up. Not really your stuff, it just keeps temporary settings, scratch disk. It's just stuff that's not really going to be permanently there. It just needs some space to save some settings and stuff while you work, so everything runs faster. It just makes everything run better if you have more space. So I went and looked on my hard drive and figured out about how much I could give it. So I gave it 50 gigs. So it's going to utilize, 50 gigs of hard drive space to store temporary settings and stuff as the like, instead of one, which will make it run faster because it's not, just working with that limited space. And if it's ever running slow, you can come down and click this purge button and just delete all that junk out of there and start from scratch, and that should hey, I got a song pop request. Anyway, you start from scratch and it'll run faster. Next, if you come over to General and go to Catalog Settings, if this automatically write changes into XMP is checked, you want to uncheck that. That's pretty much taking any changes that you make to your photos. It's constantly writing, updating files, so that if you're going to be switching into Photoshop or some other Adobe product, that it will work faster in between the two if you're going back and forth. But if you're not doing that, it's just writing this unneeded data all the time for no reason, and that's going to take up some more CPU power, and you're not going to be able to use that towards what you're actually doing in Lightroom. So make sure that's unchecked. And since we're talking about scratch disk space, let's hide Lightroom. You see my desktop. My desktop is relatively clean. There's a lot of open space. And that's because if you had, let's say, maybe a folder, if you keep your photography folder on your desktop and you have a gazillion raw files in there, guess what? That's taking up scratch disk space, extra memory, because your computer believes that because those photos are on your desktop that you're going to use them frequently, you want to look at them frequently, and you want them to load faster. So it's constantly keeping that in the front of your computer's brain, so to speak. It's ready to be used at a moment's notice. And if you're not doing that, then you're wasting scratch disk space. You're slowing your computer down. So you can see here, I have a burn folder which has nothing. I have my hard drive, my shortcut to my hard drive. I have my current wallpaper, which is I'm going to go through and delete every time I update my wallpaper, because these are like 5 megabytes a piece, and those are going to add up pretty quick if I have a bunch. But there's only 2, so I don't really care. And then I have a JPEG image that goes with my ScreenFlow project files, just so I don't have to keep making my basic layout for my videos every time. I don't have to import the footage and everything into there. So that don't actually take up a lot of space. But other than that, there's nothing on here, so the computer runs faster. Let's come back to Lightroom. Okay, let's talk about other things that slow down Lightroom, which is having catalogs with a crap ton of photos in them. You can see here, this is my working catalog. It has some pictures that I might be working on or playing with, but there's not a whole lot in here. I also have other catalogs. Like if we go to recent and come down to the Ashley's photo, and we're going to skip the backup actually right now for this time. And what it's going to do is it's going to open my Ashley's photo catalog, which, as you might guess, has only my photos of Ashley. So you can see here, this has all my pictures of her. So it's in a separate catalog, and it keeps the amount of pictures in the catalog down, and Lightroom will run faster because it's not having to keep up with all these files. I do this with everything. I'm making more as I go. I'm going to have one for senior portraits, weddings, so on and so on. And you might be like, oh, well then all my weddings are going to be in here, and I'm not going to keep good track of them. I mean, you could have a separate catalog for each wedding if you really want to. But me personally, I like having all the photos in here, which these are just of Ashley. But let's say I was in my senior portrait catalog. You can have different collections. You can see I have the Sugar Bee collection, which actually has all the pictures that are already in here. But you could select, let's say these 4 photos, press new, you can create a collection. And you could name it something else. Maybe it was a guy and his name is Fred, and you could put Fred, and maybe his last name. And that would put all those pictures into a separate collection. So if you can have a bunch of senior portraits, separate them out by somebody's name, click their name, and it will only display their name. So if you want to be working on them, or mess around with the photos later, or just look at them if you want to start a slideshow, you can have different collections to get through your catalogs faster. But let's go back to my 2012 new working catalog. And okay. So, let's go over basic kind of workflow. Speed. Now what I'm going to start to do is when I import photos, I'm going to look through them real quickly. I might just look at them through this, and based off of this, maybe say, I don't really like this picture, so I'm not going to use it. Or this composition is a little better. This is actually the same photo. This composition is a little better than this composition. So I'm going to quickly go through my pictures and just hit P, which will mark it as picked, or press X, which will reject the photo. So let's say I'm going to pick this one. That's a nice one. I like this one better. I like this photo. I like this. Which actually, I'm doing the ones that I'm picking. I'm just going to select the ones I'm going to pick. Once you do that, you can come over to Attribute, and I'm going to click. Let's click. What is it doing? It's freaking out. So this just shows the ones that are marked, which will work, I guess, but you're supposed to be able to click this one that you got checked, and it just shows the ones that are flagged. Now from there, you could go through, zoom in, check the sharpness, and other things of it. And then if you like that picture, then we could press 1 through 5 on the keyboard. So I really like that one. That one I'm not too fond of. I like this one, and I like this one. And then you can just click 1 star, and that will display the pictures that you really want to edit. So that's a really quick way to narrow down the photos that you want to work with and just see those. So you can come over to the develop module and just only work with those pictures that you really are going to use and not the ones that you don't. Put those back to 0, and we're going to uncheck all of these and click none. So that's how to speed up your picking of which photos you're going to use when you're going through your workflow. That's the most basic starting point, is picking the picture that you're going to use. Another thing I want to mention real quick that's actually going to speed up the performance. You can see like this picture right here. If I click this and I want to zoom in and see if it's sharp or not, it is not built a one-to-one preview. It just keeps saying loading. It's going to be like that for a second here. Oh, and then you can see if it's sharp or not, or the grain. See, if I zoom in now, then it's cool. We built that one-to-one preview, so it's there. I can just do that. Now, if you want to do that really quickly in your workflow, and you have to wait for that each time, that sucks. So what you're going to do is when you click import, up here under file handling where it says render previews minimal, that's why. If you change that to one-to-one, as it imports your photos, it will make one-to-one previews for you, so that when you going in through and selecting and you zoom in, you won't have to wait. Now that'll add a little extra, rendering time at the beginning, but it'll get it all out the way, so then when you're going through, in general, it will speed up how quickly you can look at your photos and just kind of go through them, seeing if you're going to keep them or not, and which ones you're going to get rid of. So that's how we do that. Let's click another picture. I'm tired of looking at that one. Let's go over to the develop module and show you some things to kind of speed up your workflow. I've already messed with this image, so it's not really a good example, but let's say you have a camera that constantly, every shot you take, it slightly looks kind of dark to you. So every time you're in Lightroom, you find yourself adjusting, maybe up one stop. Just press 1 here. One stop of exposure. You find yourself doing that constantly. So in every photo you go through, you have to move this up to 1. That takes time. What you could do is hold Alt, press this Set the Default button, and you can see here model Sony DSLR A200. If I hit Update Current Settings, every picture that I bring into here is going to automatically apply that one stop, or any changes that you make in here actually. It's automatically going to apply those to your photos, so you don't have to do it to each one individually. So each photo that you import, it's automatically going to put in any settings that you think your camera doesn't perform well at. Maybe you need to add a little, you want to add clarity to every photo, or add a little more contrast, your images look flat from your camera. You can already have those done as they import and into the develop module, so you don't have to adjust every single one, which greatly speeds up your workflow. Another thing we have here is presets, and you can see I have quite a few here, and under each one, I got a pretty good amount of presets. Now, I haven't actually bought it yet, but SLR Lounge seems to have a pretty good workflow preset system that goes through basic, tone curves and contrast. It has little ones to bring down the highlights or bring up the shadows, little adjustments here and there that you can literally go through and adjust an image, basic adjustments, just by clicking, maybe 5 times, and get an image that has good tonal quality, a good dynamic range of tones, and everything looks pretty good. And then you can, after you do that, you'd make 5 clicks, you'd come over here and probably fine-tune it a little bit more, or if you need to do some brush work or anything, you can do that. So instead of doing that for each one, tweaking settings, you could come and just click through there, any presets, but theirs is built that you click them and it adds layers of presets, which you can then save into your own mix folder So if you have a lot of the same images, maybe from a wedding, the same scene but multiple photos, you could make your own, go through, adjust one image the way you want it to, save that entire preset workflow that you just want to into one preset, click it, and apply it to all the rest of your images. And then, boom, you just saved 15 to 30 minutes of work, and you just applied it in maybe 5 to 10 minutes. So you can drastically cut your Lightroom work in half or more by having a good set of presets. And I recommend you should probably go look at SLR Lounge and find the Lightroom 4 workflow system. Like I said, I don't have it yet, but it looks pretty awesome. I've been watching a lot of videos. It's $100. Kind of pricey when you're just like, it's just presets, but it comes with a crap ton of them. Like, this is a joke compared to how many presets I've seen him scrolling through in the videos. And they also give you, under the brush here, they also give you a bunch of cool stuff like soft lips and whitening and enhancing textures and clothing. It has a bunch of good stuff like that. And it has a lot of good things, so maybe it's worth the $100. It seems kind of a little too pricey for me to be buying right now. I have other stuff to buy, of course, other expenses to take care of, but I definitely want to try it out one day and see how awesome it is. But having a good preset system and making your own mixes to apply to images that are shot in the same light and same kind of scene. You just have a bunch of them, you get in the heat in the moment, you take 50 pictures at one spot, and they all pretty much have the same white balance and lighting and so forth. If you have a custom preset made for that, you can just apply that very quickly to all of them and be done. Move on. Move to the next batch or send them out to be printed, You're good to go. Anyway, that's just a little ditty on how to speed up your workflow and speed up Lightroom. Really wasn't a quick video. Doing a lot of talking, so I think I'm just going to shut up now. So I hope maybe that you found that a little interesting, or made you think, or maybe you learned a little something. But yeah, there you go. I will see your lovely faces some other time. What did I do?